Hello, Renee Hahn here, your Naples real estate expert, and I am bringing you this month's edition of Tide Talk. This is where we bring highlights for new businesses, which is really cool to be able to keep up with. So even if you don't care about what's going on in the real estate space, take advantage of this ongoing monthly newsletter so that you can keep up on where are some new places to go. I also typically will highlight some topics of interest in the form of real estate blog articles, and of course the monthly market update, which is a great way, even if you're not in the market to buy or sell, to keep up to date on what is going on in the real estate space. I'll talk more about that in a minute. And then lastly, I try to showcase a new community to you. They're not always new build, although we have been focused on that lately, but they may be new to you. I want to help you get acclimated and acquainted with the beautiful area we have of Naples. Now, this is very focused on Naples, of course, because that's probably predominantly where most of my business comes up, but I do service down to Marco Island, up to Bonita, Estero. Occasionally, although somewhat rarely, I will also go into Fort Myers and Cape Coral. Most of the time I don't, because with it being such a dense area and the drive being so significant up there, it is hard to be able to make it up there regularly. But when I've started working with clients and they shift their focus to those northern areas, I do, of course, keep supporting them and making sure that they get the service that they deserve. So the market update, I'm not going to repeat the stats because you can see those all below here in the market update itself and drive into the details. Instead, what I want to do is just give you a few overarching comments. So we have just completed what I would say our high season. We're at the tail end of that. The car carriers have packed up. The seasonal folks, for the most part, have gone home. That usually tends to go through about Easter. We'll have some spillover, of course. It's not a clean open and close type event here, but the majority of the traffic on those seasonal trips have started to return or have already returned to their other locations. It was an odd season, I will say. In that traffic was a lot slower, not driving traffic, but buying traffic was slower, as you'll see in the stats. And certainly showing traffic was slow. Things are still moving. I would say that, pricing has become very sensitive. I was just showing property, for example, in Park Shore in the Brittany building, and it is the highest number of listings I've seen in all of my time in Naples. It's not because anything's wrong with the building. It's simply a indication that things haven't been selling as they normally would, but they are coming on the market as they normally would. So you have a little bit of a pile up. Again, nothing's wrong with the building. There just happens to be a lot available right now in that building. And there's many examples of that. Old Naples is still running high on inventory. Connors, a lot of luxury locations are running high on inventory compared to what's selling. So you get higher months of inventory. But again, I want everybody to take assurance that Naples is still a very vibrant and healthy economy and place to live in terms of the real estate market. So don't panic. The good news for sellers is that there will always continue to be demand in the market for homes. We've certainly seen a little bit of the whiplash, if you will, on what has happened with prices and consequently also what has happened with insurance. And that's caused buyers to slow down a little bit in our market. Without question, I think people are waiting for prices to settle down a little bit. I don't know that insurance costs are going to come down, but it's still a little bit of a sticker shock because they rose so quick. There was an article the other day I read that highlighted that the increased cost of insurance is causing people to go from places like Florida to places like the Carolinas. I don't see as much of that. I don't see a mass exodus happening, and I still see a relatively healthy demand of people interested in our area because of all the things we love about it. The weather, the tax benefits, of a myriad of other reasons, and those continue to be the case. So I would just say have a little patience, wait through this time. We've been in a fluid state for years now. It was starting on the upswing. It was continuing on the downswing. And we'll continue to probably have a fluid environment right now, particularly with the elections coming later. So buckle down, don't worry. Buyers, it's a great time to be thinking about buying. There's more to choose from. I would say there's some room for negotiation most of the time. I wouldn't expect the floor to come out of Naples. So buyers, if you're waiting for killer deals, you might find some onesie and twosies here and there where people are in a situation where they need to sell right away. But for the most part, our area is staying pretty well suited and tight for the values. When you're seeing prices come down, remember, they're coming down because they had gotten so high. So it doesn't mean that our values are eroding. It means that a normal bell-shaped curve, what goes up must come down. We all know the law of gravity. So we're still higher in values if you look at about any stat than we were in 2019. So property values continue to stay dynamic and fruitful for those that own here, but there's still a good opportunity for buyers coming in new to come in and maybe get a better deal than you would have last year or the year before. So I think that is all goodness. You're seeing a ton of investment in the area, both in terms of residential and commercial investment in properties. Every time I'm collecting new businesses for this monthly newsletter, I'm amazed at how many new businesses are coming on the scene, and that gives me a lot of hope and excitement about the future and our area continuing to stay the quaint place that it is, while adding to the array of things that there are to do and enjoy while you're here. The last thing I want to talk about just briefly is the National Association of Realtor lawsuit. We've talked about that a couple times. I'm going to highlight really quickly. There are really two main outcomes coming of that. Number one, starting in July, and by the way, let me back up. The courts have conditionally approved the proposal. There's still some steps to go through, but it's looking pretty likely that it will be adopted for July implementation. And so back to my point, there are two things that come July under this agreement that are going to change. One, any buyer working with a buyer's agent is going to be required to do buyer's agreements. That was something that was optional in the past, but it is going to be across the board. So it's, sometimes we'll get odd looks from buyers that are saying, why are you asking me to sign that agreement? Well, that kind of goes away because now every buyer's agent is required to have a buyer's agreement with their buyers. So just know that that's the case. It is where they will set the level of service that you're getting, but it will also be where you will agree on and outline what you're going to pay for that service. So that's number one. Buyer's agreements are going to become a requirement for all realtors. And number two, the other thing that is coming out of the agreement is that buyer compensation can no longer be advertised in the MLS system. Now hear me. This doesn't mean that sellers can no longer pay for buyer's agent commission. It just means that MLS will no longer allow you to advertise that. Now, very candidly, it's going to get a little messy in the middle. People have got to figure out, how do you make this work? Not all sellers will abandon paying for commission on the buyer side because candidly, to be able to sell homes, sellers may want to incent buyers agents to bring buyers to their home, but it means that we can no longer advertise that in the MLS system. So it may mean a few more calls to go around and find out who's paying for what and what they're paying. But again, we'll get through this together. So I'll keep things on the forefront for you to keep you apprised of how it's working out. Again, it's not all the way through, but it looks like that they have given preliminary approval for it and more to come before July. And again, we'll kind of stumble around together and figure this out. But it for right now, it is business as usual. And so if there's anything you need on the buying or selling side, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. You can reach me at 239-287-2576. Or always, you can visit my website at yournaplesexpert.com. And the last plug I want to give is, I'm not sure what medium you're using to come to this Tide Talk, so you may have done a direct click to the actual flip book, if you will. And that's great, but know that there are links in here that will take you to a broader market update page that has interactive graphs. It has the luxury book that we put together. It's got the full written report of the Naples Area Board of Realtor market update, and so lots of resources. So I'm glad you're here to visit the flip book. Thank you for that. Continue to give me feedback if there's anything you want to see changed, implemented, or different. I'm here to serve, and I want to make sure you're getting the information that you need to help you in the things that are most important to you. But I also encourage you to click from this flipbook onto the webpage where you'll see more resources tied to the market update in particular, as well as a lot of other resources available to you. So have a wonderful Friday, have a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk soon.